Good afternoon, and thank you all for tuning in with us today. My name is Kelly Peiffer, and I am the Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Advancement here at Manor College. Today is another special episode of our Alumni Virtual Engagement Series, a video series where we sit down and talk with a Manor College alum to hear about their experience as a Manor student and what life has been like since graduating or transferring. I'm honored to be joined today by someone who graduated in 2012 with her associate's in science degree in accounting. While at Manor, Jessica Strickland was the chapter president of Alpha Beta Gamma, a business honor society, and a member of Phi Theta Kappa, a national honor society, and was really involved in student activities. Today, Jessica is a senior manager in accounting advisory at CFGI, the nation's largest non-audit accounting advisory firm. Welcome, Jessica, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
That's great. So kind of start us off with, why did you choose Manor? How did you learn about Manor College? And kind of take us back to what that was like for you.
Yeah, sure. So in high school, I had a girl I was close friends with, and she was interested in Manor's dental hygiene program. And I don't know anything about that thing, but I was always accounting. Accounting was always going to be like what I was going to study in college. But she's like, "Hey, Jess, like they have an accounting program. Why don't you apply? We can go to college together." And I'm like, "I don't know. I'll check it out." I've never heard of it before prior to the conversation. So I took the tour. I think I brought my unofficial transcript. And when I was talking to one of the admissions officers, they're like, "Oh, your grades are really good. I think you would be a great candidate for one of our full ride scholarships." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then right away, my dad's like, "Jess, you need to go here. You need to go here."
Right.
So I went through that process as well. I think it consisted of maybe a couple interviews, maybe an additional essay. Honestly, I can't remember everything, but yeah, it was a fairly light process, but yeah, I went through it and I got awarded the presidential scholarship for that incoming class, which was very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so essentially, my first 2 years of college were free. And even outside of that, I really liked like the small class sizes, and it just kind of felt right, to be honest. Like, you kind of just get that feeling like, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. I got
Mm-hmm.
that from there versus some of the other campuses I explored. Just I really didn't get that feeling that was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to hear that it just felt right.
Yeah.
Um, since you graduated in 2012, we now have a tagline that we created in 2017 called "You Belong Here," and that tagline came from talking to so many students, alumni, just people who work here, who, when you ask them, like, what's the feeling that Manor evokes in you, or what's kind of the sense that you get, and everyone kept saying things like that. Like, it just felt right. It feels like home. You feel like you belong there. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how we created the tagline, "You Belong Here." Exactly from talking to students and alumni, just like that. So that's really always reassuring to hear that from alumni who had that similar experience. And that's cool that your friend introduced you.
Yeah.
I feel like friends and hearing things through word of mouth is so powerful, opposed to hearing, obviously we work in the marketing office, so like we want people to see a billboard and to go, oh, I want to go there. But we also know that that's always not really the case. It's the trust of people who are around you, who have the greatest influence. So that's really cool that that got your attention, and kind of look what happened. So that's really neat to hear. So tell me, what was your Manor experience like? What was kind of like those 2 years like for you, and what were you involved with?
Yeah, sure. So the 2 years flew by. I really did enjoy my time there. I really liked that, like when we're talking about belongingness, like that feeling just continued throughout my whole time there. There's really like a strong sense of community. Everyone's really nice, down to earth. I think one of my favorite parts of being at Manor is I feel like wherever I went, whether it was like the dining hall, the library, like the student lounge, there was always someone else there that I knew that I could just like sit and hang out with, or, if I needed help with something, it was very easy to like get assistance because everyone was like, so friendly with each other, so happy to help each other out. And just like that sense of community really can't be beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I would say that still, you graduated not a long, long time ago, but long enough that it's been, 12 years. That sense of community is still really accurate to today, and
Yes.
we try to make ourselves as accessible to students for help as possible, whether it's tutoring or faculty or support services for other needs that students have, whether it's counseling or food pantry, but really just like want to make sure that like students can get the help they need at any point. There's not a lot of like red tape to go through if you just need help with something or you have
Right.
like questions to figure out. So that's good. Were you involved with any activities? Do you have any activities that really stood out to you that was like some of your favorite traditions that you enjoyed?
Yeah, so the Business Honor Society that I was a part of, every October we would do various fundraisers to
Hmm.
raise money for the Susan G. Komen Foundation,
Hmm.
because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that was definitely a lot of fun. We got to be creative with it, think of ideas. I know off the top of my head, we did like bake sales, pretzel sales. And I remember even at the ceremony, Professor Montalone, who was my professor I was really close with, she did a presentation where they got one of the big checks. And then we kind of like just like explained what we did this month. And I remember someone like was so moved they started crying and they donated
Mm,
more money because it was just like a really well put together, a really good, I feel like, thing that we got behind. So
yeah.
that was probably like my favorite activity. I also did a bit of peer tutoring when you're
Mm,
mentoring tutoring, just because, some of the business majors, they took accounting because they had to take accounting, whereas I
right.
was like actually kind of into it. So, they pulled me aside. They're like, hey, would you mind maybe being a peer tutor and you can help some people out that are struggling? So I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And I feel like, that was very rewarding in the sense because I do like teaching and coaching. As I also, found out later in my career, that's like probably one of my favorite aspects of my job now. But just, being able to help someone out and helps my own accounting skills because
Hmm.
truly master a skill. I feel like when you're able to teach it to somebody.
Hmm.
Um,
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Was peer tutoring new for like, do you know for Manor back, or was that a thing? Or
Um,
'cause I know we have peer tutors now, quite a few of them
yeah.
actually. I wasn't sure if that was a new thing then,
I'm
and now
not
it's
sure.
become,
Yeah. I mean, when they told me about it, I don't really think I knew about it.
yeah,
Um, but I think when I agreed to it, I think they maybe told some of the students that wanted additional assistance, so like, hey, Jess is available. Here's your contact information. And,
it's
they
cool.
would contact me and we just set up a time. I was always on campus, so always hanging out. So it wasn't
Hmm.
hard,
Hmm.
find a time where we were both available.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You were able to do that. So tell me, I know how you said that you kind of knew right away, like accounting is definitely going to be my major. I'm going to have that as my, my degree. How did you know that, and kind of what made that so clear to you? Because I think that's something that a lot of
Yeah.
students struggle with is knowing, like, what do I study? What do I do? Where do I put my focus at? It's a hard question. So I think you being so clear about it is actually pretty unique.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure. So I always liked dealing with like numbers. I can write a paper, but it was never, my favorite thing to do. I like, problem solving. I like getting to like the answer. It's just like a fun, like problem solving is just like fun for lack of a better word
Hmm.
for me. So I didn't really think like, mathematician. I wasn't really sure about the job outlooks. I'm sure, if you do go down that road and it works out, that's great. But I mean, just like, from a more practical standpoint, I just felt like accounting, it kind of had like the numbers and problem solving aspect. And it was very like practical career choice for me. And, I was fortunate enough where I was able to take a couple elective classes in high school. And I think
Mm,
that's really what drove. And I had a really great teacher. So I think in addition to like that, having a really great teacher was vital in me like saying, oh
hmm.
yeah, I think this is what I want to do going forward. Um, and I just, I took, when I did take other classes, I kind of weighed the option like, oh, is this still the right path for me? Because, I think if I've heard of so many people going into college with one mindset, like, oh, I'm going to
Mhm.
study this, and then they wind up changing their mind. And
Mhm.
I fully encourage that. Like, I didn't stay in accounting because I'm like, oh, I need to stick to this path. Like, it just continued to
Right.
make sense for me.
Mhm.
Um, because the last thing you want to do is like, find out, oh, I hate this. Like, I don't want to do it, and then just stick with it just because you feel like you have to.
Right, right.
Especially so
Good.
early on, like you can still use those credits and like they can
Right.
be like
Right.
elective credits or whatever, you're not stuck there is essentially what I'm trying
Mhm.
to say. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's really cool that you kind of
yeah,
had a chance to have like a taste of it in high school and it
yeah,
really resonated with you. And it's still
yeah,
obviously something that you're passionate about today. I think that's
yeah,
really neat.
yeah,
And it shows that, it's okay to, enjoy something and go, no, this is for me. You don't have to, have to change that if you don't want to. So
yeah,
talk about a little bit, how did you feel that your Manor education set you up for what was next? And talk about what did you do after Manor? I know that you transferred because we have an associate's in accounting. We don't offer a bachelor's in accounting. So kind of how did Manor set you up for the next steps?
yeah. So I feel like going in a manner like those small personalized like classroom settings were so important to me. I one of my weaknesses is like my attention span is not the greatest. And I just feel like if I would have went to like a big school, I could have just like gotten lost in that.
Hmm.
And I do think, for me personally, and I feel like so many people feel like this, like that transition from high school to college is so difficult. And it's just like nothing you can really anticipate. It's just kind of something you have to go through.
Hmm.
And I think just like having that sense of community and those small class sizes and those individualized like attention, like whenever I had a question or something, like it was so easy to talk to the professor. Um, and just even like being able to interact in class and like having discussions, like lively discussions with like the
Hmm.
classmates and like between the classmates and professor, like I feel like that was just like so vital for me in my learning.
Hmm.
um so I feel like I was able to learn away at Manor, versus that I wouldn't have had I gone into like a big school where I was kind of like just a number, and going to class was just kind of like sitting there, no one really cared if you showed up or not.
Right.
um I just think like the interactiveness and like the accessibility to professors is what
Hmm.
really set Manor apart and helped me kind of go on to the next step. Um, and then in terms of transferring, um, I kind of looked at the options. I'm not sure what the circumstances are now, but I know LaSalle had a great transfer agreement with Manor,
Hmm.
and I didn't have an issue with my credits transferring. So they transferred pretty seamlessly, and I wasn't really behind. I was going into my third year of college at LaSalle as my peers were going into their third year of college. It wasn't
Hmm.
like, oh, like I'm actually like a sophomore because, all these credits didn't transfer and I have to like redo my sophomore year again.
Hmm.
Um, so I would definitely like when you're doing the transfer process, definitely, talk to the schools you're interested in, see what the transfer process would look like how your credits would transfer. Cause I know I did look at like a couple schools outside of which Manor has like a transfer agreement with, and, they weren't as
Hmm.
accepting as those credits. So, I mean, that's definitely something like, or they were, but it was like going to transfer as an elective. So, just
Hmm.
make sure that like you're looking at like, oh, like who do they have transfers agreement with? Like, how will the school take these credits? Just so you're not behind. But
Yeah.
LaSalle was great with that. So,
That's great. Yeah, I know we still have that partnership today. The number of partnerships has grown in the
oh,
last
yeah.
few years, and we have now a nursing partnership as well with LaSalle for their BSN program because we have a pre-nursing program. So that's another really good one. That again, it's seamless. You don't need to lose any credits that you've paid for these credits, frankly, and you don't need to lose any time. So that's really valuable. So it's great to hear that you were able to take advantage of that. That's awesome. So tell us, Jessica, what are you doing today in terms of career? And kind of share with us kind of what your professional career looks like.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'll start back at LaSalle. One of the good things about transferring to LaSalle is not only was it a seamless transfer in terms of like credits, but they also have like a really good accounting program. So I would highly suggest this route for anyone who wants to get into accounting. A lot of the big four firms, this might have actually, it might be 4 out of 4 now, but 3 out of the 4 big four firms recruit at LaSalle.
Mm.
So I was actually able to get a job offer a year before I got into the workforce. So I went
Wow.
through like my last year. I actually did the 1 year MBA after I
Mhm.
got my bachelor's degree, but I was able to go into that year already having a job offer secured. So
Wow.
that was like a huge load off my shoulders when
Right, right.
completing my last year. But I went into EY, a public accounting firm, and then I was there for like almost 4 years, and then from there I transferred to my new job at a CFGI, which is an accounting advisory firm.
Hmm.
Um, so we kind of do two things in terms of like advisory. We do like a staff augmentation where our client will have like a role that is not filled. So we'll go in and, kind of fill that role for them until it's either A, no longer needed, or B, they hire a permanent
Hmm.
hire to fulfill that for us. Or we have more of like the other side where it's like there'll be a technical accounting problem. Usually it's like a new accounting standard that the company doesn't want to spend their own resources kind of, implementing. So they'll
Hmm.
hire us for our expertise, and then like we'll go in there and, either help them with their reporting needs or their control needs, and, kind of take care of that issue for them, and
Hmm.
they focus more on their like normal daily tasks.
Okay, cool. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great to hear about the LaSalle transition, and that was really smooth. And then now, you're, kind of moved into a different role with CFGI. That's really
Yeah.
neat. So tell us, Jessica, as we're wrapping up here, what advice would you give to any current Manor students? Right now, students are in their spring semester. We're about, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks out from like the semester ending, and so students are in it, in the middle of it right now. But what advice would you give them?
Just really like get involved and like foster those relationships. There's some great people there that want to help you. I know like me, I'm a little more introverted, a little more shy. So, you kind of have to put that upon yourself to like, put yourself out there, and just know that like you're surrounded by great people, you're in a great environment, and there's only good things to come if you put yourself out there.
That's great. I love that. I love that quote. There's only good things to come if you put yourself out there. I talk to a lot of alumni, and I feel like that's probably the most common and frankly repeated piece of advice that I hear is just like get involved,
Yeah.
talk to people, meet people, and not just each other as students, but like meet the staff, meet the
Yeah.
faculty. These are all connections that are going to help you later in life. So, and that's in anywhere that you are, whether you transfer to another school, whether you're in a workplace, like these are the people that are surrounding you. So, they're going to support you. So that's great to
Yeah.
hear. Well, thank you,
Uh,
Jess, for your time.
yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we wish you nothing but the best, and we'll talk to you soon.